Well, welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. Oh, I've got such a treat for you tonight. Low country shrimp and grits. Fred asked for them, I cooked them, we ate them, they were wonderful. Here are your ingredients. You don't have to pause and write them down because I'm gonna go over the ingredients again. And hey, if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and share and subscribe. I want to spend a little extra time going over the ingredients because timing on this is important. Those are some fresh shallots. This is about 1/4 of a green and a red pepper, carrot, celery, got a little 2-ounce chunk of cheese. I've got 4 small garlic cloves here, out of my garden by the way, 3 regular sized ones. This is thick sliced bacon, 2 slices per person. And as I was saying, you need to get all this together and assembled and chopped because when we start working, we're going to go fast. I have shrimp here, just however many you want per serving. This makes 2 servings. Shrimp size varies, so get as much as you want. This is grits. Whatever grits you have will be fine. I'm going to have about 2 ounces of butter, and I'm also going to use cream in the grits to substitute for half of the water. And what you don't see here is a cup of brewed coffee. I'll get this all diced and chopped and minced and meet you at the stove. So we start with the grits, and we make them a little different than normal grits. You want to substitute heavy cream for half of the water. Otherwise, it's by directions. And use any kind of grits you want. And I've already added salt and pepper to this. And you pour in your grits, and we're gonna just let them come back to a boil. And give them a stir. And you know how long you cook them depends on what kind of grits you started out with. These are quick grits, and they'll cook in 5 minutes. Going to cover them and I'll come back and check on them in 5 minutes. I chopped the bacon into about 1/2-inch pieces, and I've got my skillet here on just a little above medium. I want to cook this until it's crispy, but I don't want to scorch it. So I'm spreading it out, kind of trying to get it into one layer. While the bacon sizzles, I'm going to check on the grits. And I don't think you can see it, but these are so creamy. Adding the milk, the cream, gives it a whole different texture than just using water. And for these, it's pretty important that you use cream. I already have salt and pepper in there, and I use black pepper. You can use white if you'd rather, if you don't want the little black specks, but I don't think it matters. Turn off your heat, and then we're going to add the cheddar. Use any kind of cheese you want. As long as it's real cheese. I'm going to stir this all in really well, put the lid back on the pan, and set it on the back of the stove. And here's our bacon, nice and crispy. You can see the pan's pretty hot. I'm going to take this up and drain it. I've turned the heat off because I want this bacon fat to cool a little before I add the other ingredients, and I'm going to do a little quality control here. Almost time for the shrimp, but you can see a little smoke in there, so it's too hot for the shrimp. We're going to let it cool down to about medium heat. While it's cooling, I'll show you the shrimp. I've dried them with a paper towel. It's important that you get them dry because we want to get just a little browning on them. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some salt over them. Not a whole lot, just a good sized pinch. So the fat's cooled, and remember I said timing's really important here. Nothing else we do cooks for very long. It goes really quick. So I've put the one shrimp in to check, and we've got a little sizzle going there. I've got my heat on medium. And so now we're going to put the rest of the shrimp in. And I'm going to put them in one layer really quickly. And I don't want these to cook for more than about 1.5 minutes total. So just as soon as I get them all in, I'm going to start turning them. And it was about 30-45 seconds. and I'm quickly going to turn them. And you see I have just a tiny little bit of browning on these, and they're getting nice and pink. And they don't have to be done because they're going to cook some more. We just want to get the browning and the bacon flavor in here. And about 30 to 45 seconds on each side is enough, and I'm taking them up to drain them on a paper towel, and I'll just set them to the side. So now the mirepoix, the onions, carrots, and celery, and I'm going to let them sizzle in here for about a minute. I want to make sure that the carrots get done. I don't want the carrots to be crunchy. They're the only thing that really need to cook through. But as always, when you're making a mirepoix, you want to cook it until your onions, in this case shallots, get translucent and you smell that wonderful smell. That's why they call this an aromatic, by the way. It just smells wonderful, and the flavors go all through the whole dish. After we let those sizzle about 2 minutes, I'm going to add the peppers. I don't want them to cook quite as much. That's why I separated the vegetables out like that. And I'm going to stir it all in here together. Going to get a nice sizzle going again. Then we add the garlic, and I smashed this garlic with some salt to kind of break it up. Minced it, salted it, mashed it with the side of the knife. You can use a garlic press if you want to. And if I had one, I would have. And because you can never have too much butter, I'm going to drop in about an ounce of butter. You can see the heat is not very high here because the butter doesn't melt right away. And all kidding aside, you really do want the flavor of a little butter. I'm going to check these carrots. They're the only things that I want to cook well beyond the crunch. And I'll pick out a medium-sized chunk here and give it a taste. And it's done. We're almost done here, and these have all been cooking now for a total of 4 to 5 minutes. I'm going to add in some red pepper flakes. Not going to taste it for salt yet, but I'll do that before I'm done. Tasting as you go always makes the difference, and you should always do that. So everything is bubbling together nicely, and now we're going to add our coffee. And a lot of folks say what? Coffee? And I say yes. Think of red-eye gravy and grits with some wonderful shrimp and bacon thrown in. That was about 2/3 cup coffee, and I promise you want the coffee. So I'm going to sprinkle the bacon back in, kind of crumble it a little bit as I go. And we're not going to cook it much longer. It's almost done, so it'll still be pretty crunchy when we're done. When that comes back up to a sizzle, we're going to put the shrimp back in. And when I get the shrimp in and stir them in, I'm going to turn the heat off. The heat from the pan sauce here is going to finish cooking it. And you know, overcooking shrimp just ruins it. So now I'm tasting for salt, and I am going to need a little bit of salt. And I'll put that in and stir it in, and then we're done. Heat's off. Everything is cooked. Still got some crunch in here. We didn't cook it to death. It's going to have a nice fresh taste. I'm going to plate this up and show you what we got. And I want to show you how I plate it up because it just makes a beautiful presentation. A lot of folks serve shrimp and grits in a bowl, but I don't. I like to put it on a plate because I like to pile it high, and the texture of the grits cooked with the milk and with the cheese added, it'll stand up on a plate so that you can kind of show off. You know, every once in a while you just want to show off. And I've put my shrimp on. I'm crumbling a little bit of bacon that I reserved. And I've got a little bit of garnish ready here. Just before I chopped the peppers, I sliced off a couple of thin slices. And then we're gonna cover this. I'm gonna give you a little close up. Then we're gonna cover this with the pan sauce and the veggies. And you want to sprinkle that coffee over and get a good generous portion of those veggies. And you see that quick cooking that we did, they're bright, they're pretty, they're going to have a lot of flavor. And I just think this is gorgeous. And I cannot tell you how wonderful it tastes. I mean, what's not to like? You've got grits, you've got shrimp, you've got bacon, and some wonderful fresh veggies. I mean, I could eat this for breakfast, and I think lots of folks do. I hope you try this. This is something that will be a special occasion meal for you from now on. We just love it. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. I'm glad to have you here with us, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.